The topic we have chosen for our research is women's rights, and our issue we are going to talk about is domestic abuse. Women are frequently disrespected and disenfranchised because they are perceived as a social vulnerable group. Regardless of gender, everyone ought to be treated equally. Since gender is only a categorization, everyone should be entitled to the same freedoms and rights as other people. Sons were traditionally regarded more highly than daughters in the past, and some families feel this way even now. This theme is the ideal option if you want to provide commentary for more ladies. Everything is determined by silence if they have never been an attempt to voice out. Women are always devalued at workplace, even at home, and they are frequently abused either physically and verbally. For instance, the political environment was not respectful to women. They will use technology to facilitate gender-based violence, such as threats of rape and murder via Facebook and other social media platforms, and they will primarily target women members. Frequently, we can view on our phones what other netizens are posting about being tracked while they shopping. Sexual harassment is a common occurrence for women. Even more cruel are the many cases of biological fathers abusing their daughters sexually. A similar case just happened in last year. Over a 5 year period beginning in 2018, the 53-year-old male pleaded a guilty plea to 30 charges of rape and sexual abuse against the daughter, who are now 19 and 15, and left one pregnant. The prosecution had asked for a lengthy prison term for crimes that left the kids traumatized for life, but the sincere sentence is only going to be 42 years in jail. No matter how harshly punishment is imposed on the victims, history cannot be changed, and they have suffered irreversible harm. This is the terror that exists in the world for women. They fear that there will be belittling, sexual assault, and violence, among other nightmares. Because neither perpetual security nor fair treatment of women are guaranteed in this world, nevertheless, we aim to raise public awareness of this issue through this topic and research, and we will do our best to reduce the targeties about women. In this project, there are three methodologies we are using for our research is survey, individual interviews, and drama. The purposes of using this method is to collect different responses and opinions from different groups of people on women's rights and domestic abuse. It can also ensure the validity and reliability of the results, as several methods have been used. For the survey, we have came up with 10 questions to devolve into respondents' perspective on gender equality, domestic abuse reduction, and the empowerment of women in voicing their concern. Prior to answering, participants will receive brief description and introduction outlining the issues at hand, aiding our mission to raise awareness among the public. The compiled and analyzed responses from a sample of 94 participants will contribute valuable insight to our goal. Next is the individual interview. We have provided 2 videos for the interviewees to watch, so they have a basic understanding of what is women's right and what has domestic abuse brought for women. The questions are generated based on the information given in the video to collect their point of view on our topic and issue. For the drama, we have offered dramas that promote awareness of the adverse effects that domestic abuse does to women. In this video, our main purpose is to make people better understanding their fear and despair, and to encourage women who have been subjected to domestic violence to have the courage to face this matter and take action instead of letting the perpetrator continue this behavior in order to escape. Furthermore, the films aim to inspire not just women but also the general public to give this problem greater attention, support victims, and contribute towards lessening the issue of domestic violence against women. Although we can't be sure whether those in close proximity to youth are victims of domestic abuse, we can do our utmost to raise awareness of the problems and potentially assist the victims inadvertently. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Henry. First of all, thank you so much for participating in our recent survey. Your input is invaluable, and I'm excited to share some key insight from the responses we have received. For our first survey question, which of the following action have you taken to support gender equality? 48.9% agrees that share information on social media have taken to support gender equality. For the second question, in your opinion, what factors contribute to empowering women to stand up against domestic abuse? 57.4% agrees that all of the factors, including education and awareness programs, legal support and protection, and community involvement and support, has contributed to empowering women to stand up against domestic abuse. For question 3, how do you engage with government initiatives related to gender equality and domestic abuse? 39.4% agrees that participating in advocacy groups is related to gender equality and domestic abuse. For question 4, which specific laws or policies do you think are crucial for addressing gender equality and domestic abuse? 67% agrees that legal protection for domestic abuse victims are crucial for addressing gender equality and domestic abuse. For question 5, how often do you discuss gender equality and domestic abuse with your friends, family, or colleague? 56.4% agrees that they occasionally discuss gender equality and domestic abuse with their friends, family, or colleague. For question 6, have you actively supported women in your community to voice up against domestic abuse? 45.7% agrees that they have actively supported women in their community to voice up against domestic abuse. For question 7, 64.9% agrees that all types of media or communication channels, including social media, television and movies, educational programs, are the most effective in raising awareness about gender equality and domestic abuse. For question 8, 56.4% agrees that encouraging open discussion on gender issue is school and educational institutions should play in promoting gender equality. For question 9, 42.6% agrees that petition and public campaigns is the most effective way to encourage government action on gender equality and domestic abuse. For the last question, 43.6% agrees on promoting a culture of inclusivity and respect contribute to reducing domestic abuse and promoting gender equality. Thank you.
I had concluded interviews point of view, like first of all the society ongoing developing of women, difficulties with finding jobs and succeeding in the workspace. And after seeing the first video, noticing how women are treated differently even though they are humans. Women are not treated the same as men due to laws rarely encouraging gender parity enforced. The role of the government to mitigate women's misfortunes through equal opportunities plan. And second question is about the fear of reprisals, impending behavior and seeking family support. Master the bravery to speak out with an understanding of how meaningless and distressing life may be under such situation, by that to believe that survivors need to express their concerns with those who trivialize them. The frequency of unjust treatment and physical and psychology harm experienced by women, the recognition of one's own incapacity to deal with such problems, and the significance of defending women's rights in order to avoid recurring problems. Okay. When it comes to fourth questions, urging victims to get help from experts trained to deal against domestic abuse, frequent check-in to ensure protection and offer psychological assistance, assure that being available to offer assistance and prevent unwanted events, mostly encouraging divorce as a way of ending the cycle of abuse between partners. Okay, number 5 questions is about unexplained injuries, frequent absences, abrupt behavior changes, and possessive of controlling partners are examples of the possible warning flags. First is physical signs such as cuts and bruises. Secondly, shift in emotions like nervousness, low self-worth. And the third one is isolation socially from family and friends. And the last one is about behavior of the partners being disparaging and critical. And lastly, increasing public knowledge and teaching people about constructive communication, healthy relationships, and conflict resolution, enacting legislation that protects victims, holds offenders accountable, and offers support services including shelters, counseling, and legal assistance. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lim Junyin, and today I'm going to talk about logic for Falsafah domestic abuse about women's rights. It is necessary to carefully examine accepted standards for acceptable conclusions and demonstrations in order to distinguish between sound and flawed thinking in talks about women's rights and domestic abuse. A solid rational platform grounded in scientific data, moral precepts, and cultural background is necessary for persuasive arguments in favor of women's rights. Reputable findings should be based on accurate evidence that acknowledges the diversity of women's experiences and promotes equality. However, the poor thinking frequently follows from a flawed argument, which includes hurried generalizations, stereotyping, or emotional appeals devoid of supporting data. Unfounded statements and a failure to acknowledge the complexity of the issues at hand lead to a lack of reasoning. Furthermore, good thinking in the context of domestic violence shows that one has an in-depth understanding of the problem, including its psychological, emotional, and physical aspects. Research should serve as the foundation for advocacy, taking into consideration how socio-economic, racial, and gender issues interact. On the contrary hand, faulty logic might show up as victimization, cultural insensitivity, or minimizing of abuse. Examining the arguments for coherence, consistency, and relevance is crucial in order to guarantee a rational and effective discussion about women's rights and domestic abuse.
I'm Xavier. I'll be talking about psychology and sociology. Psychology examines individual factors such as trauma, copying procedure, and the psychological effect of abuse on victim in the context of the right woman and domestic abuse. It analyzes the psychological process which occurs for both the victim and perpetrator of abuse, focusing into the dynamic of power and control within relationships of abuse. For instance, offender often fluctuated between striking violently and making apologize and promising to change in period of domestic abuse. Victims of the cycle of abuse might experience recurrent psychological effect, avoid specific circumstance or emotions, and shows excessive alertness or arousal that can result in learned helplessness. In addition, issues with intimacy, distorted body image, and disturbed relationships could surface. A victim's environment can also lead towards feeling of passivity and sorrow. Abuse happens frequently in four stages of cycle. First, tension building. The victims of abuse seems uneasy when the abuser gets frustrated. Communications falls lower and tension rises. Second, acting out. Abuse may happen. Third, honeymoon. The abuser minimizes and the abuse of focuses to blame on the victims, apologize, ask for reconciliations, occasionally makes a promise to change. Fourth, calm. The victim is given gift by the abuser who acts like nothing happened, developing an appearance thinking that the abuse is finished or the abuser is going to change. Sociology study borders social factors including gender roles, cultural norms, social frameworks, and organizational responses, which lead to domestic abuse. Insight into the right of women and domestic abuse may be obtained through psychology and sociology, helping to guide effort to effectively deal with this issue in the future. Public health concepts must be encompassed into preventive programs with an emphasizing and proactive measures. Reducing violence incidents in families and relationships, change society perceptions, raising consciousness, and promoting positive interpersonal interactions via volunteerism and education should be the main goal of efforts. For the desired results, legal proceedings alone are sufficient. The Sejarah of Psychology aims to ensure that everyone is in a community feeling happy and balanced. It states that we would look at the big picture, not just one component, to ensure that individuals are doing well in all aspects of life. When we think about issues like domestic violence, Sejarah advises us to analyze everything that might be causing it and how we can help. For example, Sujara believed that we would not only aid someone with is being wounded at home, but also attempt to figure out why it is occurring and how can improve things so that it does not happen again. It's as if we need band together as a community to support one another and ensure that everyone feeling valued and protected. When it comes to women's rights, there are belief that everyone regardless of gender deserve equal opportunity and respects. This involves giving women ability to attend school, attending excellent job, and participate in significant decisions. Simply said, Sajara is recognizing a big picture, helping one another and making sure that everyone has the chance to live a happy and healthier life.
So, in conclusion, we may have a more thorough understanding of the public's perception of women's rights, domestic violence issues, and their actions by implementing different examinations and questions using the research methodology, which includes the survey, individual interview, and drama. Our questions show that although a lot of people encourage women to voice up, but the data is still insufficient for the women, which means that there are very few people who have actively supported women voice up on this issue. Just because the statistic looks to have high percentages, but it does not mean that everyone is in favor of women's rights. It is also possible that some people have never seen this problem in their community, and as a result, they have never had the experience of encouraging women to voice up, and they were never realizing the problem. So it is very crucial to focus on women's rights in the problem of domestic abuse. However, the woman can benefit from the research. It may reinforce the psychological construct of the victims, reassure them that there is a need for their protest in order to reduce the frequency of this incident and the number of victims. Additionally, it helps to breaking the silence by giving victims an opportunity to discuss their experiences and by promoting open communication about this issue in the society. This lessens the shame caused by becoming a victim of domestic abuse. So now, men try to examine if they have disrespected their partners or other women, or if they have thought about the inequality that exists between the man and the woman, even in the absence of physical aggression. So, if yes, would you admit that women are never given the equitable treatment in real life and their lifetime? So furthermore, the research support change in society, then people are better able to assess if their philosophy of life is founded on moral judgment. So this might contribute to raising awareness of how unequal women's lives are. But no woman should have to put up with this suffering. You are in charge of your own destiny. Voice up therefore for the purpose of changing the way the world views women as well as yourself. So that's all from me. Thank you.